Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to come on here and share with you guys one of my other talents is I have been styling hair for over 30 years. No one really knows it. I'm very private about it. I have a few clients that I do in my house. Been doing hair for a very long time. It's how I've been able to have extra income for me and my child, put her in extracurricular activities when she was smaller. This gift that God gave me was always helpful to me, and I've always cherished it, always loved doing hair. I did try to go to cosmetology school, and I went for a little while part time because I worked full time. So I tried to go part time, and it just never worked out. If I wish I would have went right out of high school. If I would have went right out of high school, I would have had everything together. But I was a little discouraged from doing hair. My mom was like, "Computers is gonna be the thing. Computers is gonna be the thing." So I listened to my parents and basically didn't go to cosmetology school. And I don't blame them for that. I know they wanted what was best for me, but at the time, my passion was doing hair. And I always, as a little child, I always wanted to do hair. So, anyway, I'm sectioning her hair off in three sections, y'all. Jalen's hair is thick, but she does have a relaxer, and she just got a relaxer maybe a week ago. So, we decided we wasn't going to wash her hair. We just basically wanted to do a quick weave on her. She wanted to use her hair that she had in her head from her graduation and everything. Probably would have been okay to wash her hair, but her hair was relatively still in good condition. She was wrapping it every night and taking care of it and everything. So, what I did was I just sectioned it in three sections and did big braids. This is how I did it for her graduation. Her graduation, she had a side part, and the hair she got was from Eunice. She bought, I think, four bundles, and I think she only paid $220 for four bundles, and one of those bundles was blonde. So I was very shocked at the price of how affordable Eunice's hair was, and also that it was just it was pretty good quality of hair. I've used Eunice before, but I couldn't really remember. It blends really good with Jalen's hair. When I use it for myself, I think that I didn't care for how it blended with my hair. I just felt like it was a little more shiny than my hair was. My hair was more dull, so um, I would have to have a closure. So anyway, I did it. I braided her hair in three sections, and I put the Blue Magic grease all over her hair and all over her ends and everything, just to make sure that her ends stay nice and moist underneath this cap. So I'm using bobby pins. I'm just gonna take those two braids and I'm just gonna bobby pin them. And I didn't really have any set way I was going to do this. I just had it in my head and I just went with it. So it worked for her graduation. So I figured this would work, again. So this is what I'm doing. And I found that when I got ready to take her quick weave down, using the bigger braids was easier. She didn't have a lot of tangling. I think if I would have put smaller braids in her hair, probably would have lost a little more hair. But for some reason, it was very simple when it came down to taking it down. And she didn't have a lot of glue residue because we used the solution, and I can't really call it right now. I can't remember, but it's a solution that you use when you do quick weave so that the glue does not, you know, damage your hair. And when it's time to take the quick weave down, you just pretty much just put your head in some warm water under a shower, or you can do it in the sink, and slowly but surely the cap just starts to lift up because um, the solution starts to, dissolve or whatever, and then the cap starts lifting up, and then it's easy to get the cap off or whatever. And if you do it properly, you won't have a lot of hair loss. But, when your hair is up, in a cap for at least a month or whatever, you're going to have some shedding because, daily we shed hair. So if your hair is tied down, even when it's in braids, same thing. So if your hair is in braids for a long time, you decide to take them down, you're going to have some shedding. You're going to have some dead hair. And the same is with this. When you tie your hair down with a cap and all this other stuff, and you wear the style for a month or weeks or whatever, you got to remember you're supposed to shed hair, a little bit daily. So that hair is going to come out when it's time to comb your hair out. And so don't be afraid unless you're doing some really damaging things and making your hair too tight and things like that. But as you can see, her hair is not tight. I just plaited it in 3 braids, and basically I'm just tacking it down with some bobby pins, and then I'm going to put her stocking cap on. And then from there, I'm going to add a little bit more of that Blue Magic grease, and I'm going to add some of that growing that hair oil that I had purchased. So I want her hair to be nice and saturated with oil underneath this cap. She's probably going to wear it for maybe a month. She wore her last style for about a month, and she didn't have any problems. As you can see, Jay has a head full of hair, and she didn't have any kind of problem. So right now I'm going to just saturate her scalp with that oil, that growth oil. And I'm being really generous with it. I'm just putting it all through her hair on the sides and everything where I know that she will itch the most. Because that's one thing about quick weaves, your hair is kind of on lockdown. That solution, once it dries, it's very hard, like hard as a rock almost. And the only way you could probably get to your scalp is with one of those metal rat tooth combs. That's the best way probably to get to your scalp if your scalp is itching. So I wanted to make sure her scalp was nice and saturated or whatever. And then that leave out in the middle, it's just a strip of hair in the middle because she wanted to do what they call the middle part bust down. So basically, I'm just braiding her leave out, and I'm not using a lot of tension or anything on her hair. And I'm just going to basically just braid the leave out to get it out of my way. And then I'm going to put her cap on. And then I gave her some edges, I took out a little bit of her edges, very little. I didn't put a lot of her edges out. So I'm kind of showing you guys how I did it. So that's her leave out in the middle. And then, I left her some hair out on the sides in case, she's walking and the wind blows, and at least some hair to cover up, her tracks or whatever. So I'm putting these tracks very close together, by the way. So that's how it looks nice and full, just like a sew-in, but it's not. It is a little more work when you want it to be nice and full because your tracks basically have to kiss each other. You want your tracks to be nice and close together so that, you get that fullness and everything. So right now I'm just adding some gel, and that's just basically to, add another barrier protection underneath this cap. So I'm putting her cap on right now. And don't worry about the back or the nape of the neck of her, of her head, because that's not going to show. Because once I start laying those tracks very close together, you don't even notice, anything. It lays nice and flat. It lays nice and flat. So right here, I'm just putting the cap on, and then I'm going to take some eyeshadow and a brush, and I'm going to make sure that I can see, where her leave out is. The cap should be nice and thin enough. Usually I'll use 2 caps, but sometimes it's best just to use 1 cap so you can see for sure, where the leave out is. And so right now I'm just drawing where the leave out is just to give me an indication so I know exactly where I want to lay the tracks and how close I want to get to, where her natural scalp would be. So I'm just taking some eyeshadow and a brush and just going around where her leave out is so that I know exactly where it is. And I'm going to show you guys in a minute. She's going to lean her head down so you can see what I did. Back in the day when we used to do quick weaves and we would have leave out, we used to use a white pencil, a white eye pencil, which I see that I need to buy. That's why I'm using eyeshadow, because I didn't have a white pencil to outline where her leave out was or whatever. But that was one of the things we used to do back in the day when we were doing quick weaves. We would, draw on the cap so that we knew exactly where we wanted to lay the lay the tracks, especially if you're doing this on yourself, you know. And so this is what I'm talking about with the eyeshadow. I made it where I can see exactly where her leave out is. So right here, I'm just gonna add the solution that I was telling you about. I'm gonna show you guys the bottle. I can't think of the name right now, but it's in every beauty supply. I remember when this stuff used to be like $9. Now it's like $15 or $16 for this big bottle, because it doesn't even make sense to buy that little bottle, because the little bottle is like $9. Not even worth it. You might as well get this size and it'll last you a couple of more styles. This stuff lasts a long time, but it is messy. So it's best to use something that you can have some control with. I used to use this applicator brush that was like a rubber applicator brush, but I couldn't find it. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to use, I saw this girl one time doing a quick weave, and she was just using the, the wig cap little, the little, what is that? Cardboard piece. So this part is a little debatable, and some people might have a little pushback about this, but as long as you have the solution in the right area, I feel it's okay to put the glue there to secure the cap on there, because sometimes I've had some bloopers with quick weaves. So basically I'm just going around the parameter of her hair, of her cap, and where her leave out was, and then I'm going to go down the side of her edges. But I have the solution, a nice amount of solution all over this cap. So it doesn't concern me that I'm putting glue on the edge just to, secure her cap and make sure that it doesn't leave, doesn't, lift up whenever I get ready to cut this cap. Because sometimes, I've had problems when I would do my own quick weave back in the day, and I get ready to cut that cap and something lift up. I'm like, oh my God. And you end up adding more glue, which is probably why I have some of the problems I have now because those quick weaves back in the day, especially when you think you know what you're doing, when you think you know what you're doing and you think you know how to take care of some hair, you can make a lot of mistakes. So I just made sure that my baby had a lot of solution on her hair. So I'm just securing it with the glue. And when I get ready to rinse this off, it'll be not even that much residue on her hair. But you guys do what you feel comfortable with. Do it your way. You do not have to do it this way. I've seen quite a few people do it this way, but you do what's best for you, because what I don't want is for someone to say, I did this and it took my hair out. So I'm definitely not telling you to do what I do, but it works for me, and I know how to take it off, and I know, how to be gentle with it when I take it down. So as long as you guys are not in a rush when you get ready to take your quick weaves down, let that water, really do what it's supposed to do. Because some people get to pulling and tugging, and you don't have to do all that. Just, if it's not coming right up, just keep on with the water, with the warm water. Let it just, continue to do what it's going to do, and you will feel it lifting up. And if you don't feel it lifting up in the areas that you need it to lift up, then I would say use a little conditioner, like a really moisturizing conditioner. But do not rush. Take your time when you're taking your quick weaves down, guys. If you're in the shower, let that water just run on the top of your head and really just let it, you know, saturate your scalp, saturate the solution, because the solution is going to work. You just have to let it work and don't get impatient, because that's when the damage comes, when you are trying to be too impatient and trying to rush or whatever. So when you get ready to take your quick weave down, make sure you have time, and you carved out some time to take your time and take it down, so you don't have damage. You know what I'm saying? Minimal damage is what we aim for. No damage is what we really aim for. But sometimes, it's unavoidable. How do you say that? It's hard to avoid, some damage. Nothing is foolproof sometimes. Like you might do a quick weave one time, the cap slide right off. Next time you do it, you're like, okay, it's giving me a little pushback. So at that point in time, just take your time. And if you feel like you need to go into your conditioner, go into your conditioner. Let your conditioner sit on it for a few minutes. Put your cap on and just let it get, nice and saturated. So here I'm just showing you that I have all the tracks on. I told her, I said, girl, you barely made it with this hair you had. I said, my baby got a big old head. So the last time she did it for her graduation, she did a side part, and I don't think she needed to use as much hair, and it looked very natural. And that's what we were shooting for this time, for it to look nice and natural. She didn't want it to look all boofy and big. Of course not. But some people like big hair. I just think it looks more natural when, it's not super, super duper thick. But some people like their hair like that. So, to each its own, but that's not the look she was going for. She just wanted the middle part bust down. Um, and just not nice and natural, just nice and natural. So right here, guys, this is where you really need to take your time. Really need to take your time. You are about to lift up this cap in the front, and you are going to begin to cut that cap. And that first snip usually will do it, and you can kind of like maneuver around. But sometimes the cap will act like, it doesn't want to, spread out. Usually if you cut, it'll spread out right away and you can just start cutting the excess pieces. But this cap was like, nah, not today. So basically I just take my rat tooth comb, because I don't want to, accidentally snip any of her hair. So you just take your rat tail comb and you just lift it up, and then just stay as close to the comb, to the end of the comb, as you can. That way you're nowhere near the natural hair, and you should be able to lift it up and just, you see how I'm lifting right here? So I'm just lifting it up, and then I just kind of go close to the comb, and yeah, I just basically take it off. And then from there, I just cut off the excess pieces that are on there. But you see how by me putting that glue around the parameter of her leave out and her base, that this cap didn't go nowhere. As soon as I cut the cap, it was still, together, everything was on there or whatever. So if you feel comfortable enough, go ahead and do that, go ahead and, add the glue, but just make sure you have enough of the solution around, where you're going to put the glue. That's all I'm saying, because that's going to be your help and your aid when you get ready to take it down. So right here, it was just a few little pieces that was hiding, and I was just trying to grab them. And these scissors are not the most sharpest scissors I have. I need to buy some more. In cosmetology, if we said scissors in cosmetology, we would get the side eye from our instructor. She said, you have to, what do you mean scissors? You mean shears? I was like, oh, okay. Oh my goodness. I have so many funny cosmetology school stories, but I will save that for a later time, another video. But anyway, this is basically me getting the rest of it from around her edge. Now you also want to take your time and make sure you can see, especially if you're doing this on yourself, y'all. Make sure you can see, because that other little piece around the parameter, that little thick piece, yeah, you can misjudge that and accidentally grab some of your hair. So make sure that you can see really good. Get you a clip that hair back so that you can really, really see. So you'll see what I'm saying. So there's those natural pieces and her natural hair in the front, and I'm just like pushing this back with a clip, because I want to make sure I can see that. She's so silly. So anyway, I want to make sure I can see the cap and, the piece that I'm taking off. And so once you get a good grip on it, just take your time. Don't misjudge anything. Don't think you Mr. or Mrs. Professional and you could just get to going and get to slicing and dicing and accidentally slice your hair. So you want to make sure you take your time. Patience, you guys. Just patience is all I can say, because I think that is what really led to a lot of my damage over the years. When you think you know what you're doing, you're taking the tracks out, you're not putting, any kind of solution to help you get the tracks off. The track feel loose, so you get to tugging and pulling at it. And next thing you know, over time, over years, your hair just starts to be very damaged, And I don't know. I just feel like with all these beautiful wigs and things out, people really they don't care. They care about their hair, but they love that they have an option. But there are some black women out here who are actually really suffering from damaged hair, bald spots. I thought my spot in my head was bad, but it's not as bad as I've seen. And I love those ladies that are sharing their journey and sharing all these beautiful wigs and showing what's going on underneath the wig, because a lot of us do have some balding, a lot of us do have some alopecia. I have my problem areas that I have shared with you guys, which is something that I never in a million years thought I would do. I never thought I would share, my spot. But if it can help somebody, then that's all that matters. You know what I'm saying? And it's so many women that are just so courageous on here that are showing you, how they're covering up their problem areas, or, you know, if they invest in some nice wigs or whatever. And then, they're showing how they install the wig and everything. So you guys see how I'm going back with this. I left out very, very minimal amount of leave out because I know my daughter. She'll get to flat ironing and flat ironing and flat ironing and flat ironing. And next thing you know, she got damage all around the parameter of her head. So I left her out enough that if the wind blows, you know, it will be okay, that you won't be able to see. So here I'm just flat ironing. As you can see, those tracks are really close together. I put them really close together. And so that's what makes it look nice and full or whatever, is because I put the tracks very close together. But I was like, girl, you almost didn't have enough hair because I put these tracks close together. I misjudged. We had to go into the rest of the hair that she had left over from her graduation hair. And luckily, she still had a nice amount of hair left because we didn't use it all for her side part that she wore for her graduation. So I was teasing her. I was like, girl, your head big. So you almost didn't make it because I put these tracks very close together. So anyway, I was just teasing her about that. So I'm just flat ironing this hair with my flat iron. I got this flat iron a couple of years ago from Target. I bought this. I think it's a Remington. I bought this one. It goes up to 450. It does what I need it to do or whatever. And I do still style hair at home, on the weekends. I have a few clients, just friends over the years that I've known. I do have a few new people that they refer to me, but for the most part, I just do the same people, do my same friends that come by and get their hair styled. Most of my friends come washed and blow dried, and I will just like style their hair for them. They show me what they want or tell me what they want, and then I go from there. But I must say, you guys, styling hair over the years has really helped me to, maintain a second stream of income. I know they say we need to have multiple streams, but this one has always been a blessing to me. I thank God for the talent that he gave me. um, I don't have a license, so I don't charge people a lot. I'm very reasonable, but a lot of my friends will pay me nicely. You know what I'm saying? I don't think my prices have changed in years, but I think that's why I have so many people that continue to come back to me and get their hair done because I don't charge a lot, and because, my work is decent. I ain't gonna say it's top tier, but hey, I know one thing. I've maintained a lot of my clients and everything, and they always seem happy with the, the results and things that I do for them. And I really appreciate them over the years. They don't understand. They are the ones that have helped me maintain, and I appreciate them, and that's probably why. And then a lot of people got tired of sitting in salons for hours and hours and hours. You come over to my house with your hair washed and blow dried, you out of here in like at least under an hour. If that. I can pretty much get you in and out, even depending on the style or whatever. So over the years, this has always been my second stream of income. And I don't tell a lot of people, obviously, because I do it out of my house. I don't want just anybody in my house. So that's why I've kind of like stayed with the same people, over the years, the same people that I trust, good friends and things like that. Because your house is your house. And you don't want any just walk of life just walking up in your house or whatever. So if it's someone that I have known for years and they have somebody that they might want me to do, then I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do it for them. But for the most part, like on the street, people walking, no, I don't walk up to people and give business cards and all that. I don't do any of that because like I said, I'm doing it out of my home, and I just don't tell people that I do hair. I remember one of my neighbors one time was like, do you do hair? And I was like, no. I said, I do my family. I told her that I do my family. I said, I do my family's hair. I don't really do hair. And she was like, oh, okay. And now I was tripping because she was on the third floor. I'm on the second floor. I'm like, oh, so how do you know that I do hair? But I guess when people are leaving my house and they see them, somebody probably put two and two together. But yeah, that's what I tell people. Oh, I just do my daughter and my family and maybe a few of her friends. And that's basically how I've kept it over the years. But yeah, I work a full-time job and I do hair on the side, y'all. And, I do my own nails, anything that can save my daughter some money. So I remember when she was a baby, when I first started doing hair, I was basically traveling to people's houses and doing their hair because I was still living at home. My mother wasn't feeling me doing hair in her kitchen, having hair in her kitchen, which was very understandable. So I would just pack my baby, pack my car, and I would go to people's house and do their hair. And they were always so nice, and they always appreciated that I would come to them. So and it was helping me out. So I was cool with that. So anyway, this came out really good, y'all. Jalen liked it, and I liked it too. It came out really good. But like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for hanging out with me. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Okay, so here are the pretty much the final results, and Jada took a picture, which will be right here. Okay, bye guys.